I remember one, my uncle, my mother's brother, who was only 18 months older than me, one evening there was a panic on him and another lad had gone missing, and they found them up on the seafront. They'd gone into a restricted area where they shouldn't be, and there was a bit of a panic then. As I say, one or two other lads, people from school, were blown up in the minefield. And I also, we had some good adventures. Now, this must have been after the war, I think. There were two huge guns upon the North Promenade at Mablethorpe pointing out to sea. They were massive things, massive barrels on them. And we used to go and play on these. Now, I can only think it must have been after the end of the war, because I couldn't see them letting us go up there during the war. And as far as I can remember, I don't think they were ever fired in anger anyway. But I think they were ex-naval guns. They were really big things. And we used to sit on top of the barrels. Yeah. So, yeah, we had some fun. We wanted, I don't think we were aware of the seriousness of how bad things were in 1939, and how close we were to an invasion. But as I said earlier, the whole of the beach was covered in tank traps and mines, and they're still there. All they did went after the war, they just cut them off just below sand level. And so sometimes when the sand is, we have bad seas and the sand's washed away, you can still see traces of, they were all formed out of like scaffold poling. That's what they formed the tank traps out of. Yeah.
As a child, did you see many aeroplanes and that sort of activity?
Well, I can remember seeing a Spitfire chasing a German bomber out to sea. Like a fleet when we were out, because we used to go and play outside. I mean, we weren't restricted like they are. We used to roam all over the place in those days. I remember seeing this Spitfire chasing a bomber out to sea, because we used to hear them coming over in the evenings when they were going out, flying out on operations. But I don't recall seeing many during the daytime. No.
Were there many air raids over Mablethorpe?
There were quite a few, yeah, because I think there were quite a few of these German planes used to come in off the sea and do a quick run over and drop the bombs and out again. And quite often we spent quite a bit of time in the shelters at the school, I remember. We were taken out into the shelter on the playing field at the back of the school. So presumably that was when air raids were taking place. But I don't say I think we were one of the few people who were bombed out actually during the war. Apart from when they dropped bombs on Victoria Road, I don't think there was any other major damage done to us at all. I do remember, when this was, I don't know, my father taking me down to Golf Road, where there was a German plane had been shot down, and I think it was the army was standing guard over it, and I remember my dad taking me to see that.
When you were in these shelters at school, were they like Anderson shelters?
They were specially built concrete shelters, yeah. They were an arch, and they were quite long, and they were built out of concrete. So they've obviously been, they destroyed them after the war, presumably demolished them. Yeah, we had a Morrison shelter at home. We didn't have we didn't have Anderson shelters. No. And in fact, the Morrison shelter, I remember most of it was under our garden shed in Tennyson Avenue after the war, and the metal, what had been the metal top, we used, that's where the coal bunker stood on top of that, and it was there until it rusted away, because we must have moved into it into Tennyson Avenue in 1943, 44.
You mentioned your father was in Ensa.
Yeah.
How long was he in Ensa
Well,
for?
he went. Obviously, he went after the Victoria cinema was destroyed. He went into Ensa, and he was there until the end of the war. So he'd probably be in. I don't know when the Victoria cinema was bombed. That was probably 43 time, I would think. So he'd be in, 3 or 4 years, I would think, doing Ensa. And he showed films for the camp cinema, yeah. And then when he came out after the war, he went back to work for Billy Butlin again, who had the fun fair on the top at Mablethorpe, and one down below on the ground level as well, on High Street, yeah. He'd disappear up into the sandhills with a brown paper parcel, going up there, and he'd come back with another brown paper parcel. So what was changing hands, I don't know. But we didn't go short of food. And my dad's brother, he worked on the docks in Boston. He was a lorry driver, and I always remember he often used to call when he was travelling to other parts of the country in his lorry, and he'd be dropping us off tins of fruit and things off the back of his lorry. So no, we didn't go short of food as such. No. Yeah, that was my dad's brother. Yeah, he was. Yes, but we, as I say, and I've got this strong suspicion that my grandmother was was doing a bit of dealing on the side. But whether she was getting food in exchange for cigarettes or vice versa, I don't know. There were certain, I say we never went short of food as such. But and I remember we used to save up our coupons for sweet coupons. We had a chap lived just down on Tennyson Road who had the Montes fish and chip shop. He was a baker by profession, and he used to make us Easter eggs. We used to have to save all our sweet coupons and buy bars of chocolate, which he used to melt down and turn into Easter eggs for us. Yeah. We had a good time, but I don't remember any amusing incidents now, unfortunately. Never felt in danger at any time.